the
of the
trailer
trailer.
review.
Uh-huh.
So long ago.
Yeah, but when I listened to it, it was a good conversation about what we expected or wanted to see, some predictions. And while editing it, I was like, this would be good to be used somewhere like in the middle of our series,
See how close we were.
see where we were and stuff. And then we could just see how it came together. And plus, it makes it kind of fun too. It turned into almost a 2 hour conversation. They're always supposed to talk about was
Just off a trailer.
off a 1 minute trailer about. So
Man,
that goes to show, okay, this is worthy of a nice bonus episode. And then also see where we are and where we could possibly be going. So works
keep
on two different levels.
it'll keep me company doing cat chores.
That's right.
Good sir, fellow troublemaker, how be thee?
No supper.
Oh, I'm old.
Aren't we? Aren't we all? Hey man. So not like the only thing we have to talk about all the time is Star Wars stuff, but that seems to be what we do. Well, today we saw a new trailer.
Trailer number 2.
Trailer number 2. Did I miss trailer number 1?
Oh yeah, it dropped. I want to say maybe a month or more ago for Ahsoka.
I wonder
Um, it's probably about half as long as the second one, but they did add some things, and I think they've been doing, I would say, a fairly good job of not really giving away any sort of big plot moments,
now,
right?
now are you
Nothing that you can string together.
okay? True. So, are you saying that because you can't figure out what the direction of this is going to be from the trailer, or is it because you know what this is going to be about and you could tell that they are deliberately untangling the thread?
So I have some guesses, but like none of it feels really like, oh, they're definitely doing this. Like I think one of the things from the recent trailer, the second trailer,
Mm-hmm.
oh god, I can't remember what they're called at this point, but the giant space squid.
Yeah.
Right? Talked about that last time at the end of Rebels, and they showed up in The Mandalorian season 3, the big hyperspace squids.
Right.
There's definitely one or two clips of some starfighter combat between ships,
Mm-hmm.
and they're flying between things, and like at first glance it's like, okay, so there's some weird things that they're moving around, right, dodging
Mm-hmm.
through, and it's like, oh, wait, those are giant tentacles. So clearly the space squid are going to be back, and that's no surprise. Like it's literally how Ezra and Thrawn disappear at the end of the Rebels TV show. So
Okay.
shocker that they're going to be involved again. um
Okay.
so I think, like, I will say the one thing that I really appreciate about the trailer is I think we're getting a really sort of solid emotional introduction for our 3 main characters of Ahsoka. It's
Mm-hmm.
named after her, Sabine, and Hera. And in the trailer, you clearly sort of set up, I would say, certainly for Ahsoka and Sabine, like what their relationship dynamic is going to be.
Okay.
Because, and this is something that it seems happened after the Rebel show, where clearly there's some unresolved story of Ahsoka trying to train Sabine. So in Rebels, Sabine, for backstory, is a Mandalorian. She once wielded the dark saber. She's the one that stole it away from Darth Maul and then gave it to Bo-Katan, because I can remember names. She's also been trained to use it. So Kanan another Jedi that escaped Order 66 was on the Rebel show.
Mhm.
He trained Sabine how to use the Darksaber. So she, unlike Din, like can use it, maybe not as well as Bo-Katan, but she doesn't struggle with it.
Yeah.
So there's never any suggestion that she's force sensitive, but if Ahsoka is training Sabine, and it's definitely clear in the trailer, it's like, yeah, I tried to train her and then I walked away from her. And Sabine straight up calls Ahsoka master. Like, there's clearly like they had a failed teacher-student relationship.
Yes.
And that's going to be some meat there between those two characters. Whether Sabine has the Force or doesn't, could go either way, and I'd be okay with it, right? Okay, you're gonna go and take this character and make, which could be interesting for a lot of people, a Force-sensitive Mandalorian, right?
Wow.
Which hasn't happened in like 1,000 years, and the last one made the Darksaber. So there's that. And if she's not Force sensitive, but she just wants to be able to do lightsaber combat, and that was the training focus because she wants to be a better combatant, that's still interesting. She's willing to fight with a lightsaber, presumably against people that are Force sensitive using lightsabers. It's like, okay, let's go down that road. But for setting up a character dynamic and tension between them, I'm like, cool, okay, so we know that's going to be a character development avenue for both of them, right?
Yeah.
They have to work and figure out that relationship. Hera gets a little bit less because she doesn't get in tension with someone else yet. But Hera's interesting. So within the trailer, like, it's very clear. She's like, oh, this Thrawn guy, like there's another war coming. We have to try and stop it. And she's talking to him on Mothma through holo projection and other leaders, presumably of the New Republic. And of course, actress from Andor who plays Mon Mothma, so nice carry through. But like, I think there's a line in the trailers, like her whole life she's been fighting in war, right? And the funny thing is, I caught the other somewhat recent animated show, The Bad Batch, and
I gotta catch
like,
up on all that stuff.
it's too much. Like, it's honestly too much. Don't feel like you have to. But The Bad Batch follows basically like 5 rogue, like quote unquote genetically defective clone troopers. And it starts right at Order 66.
Okay.
And so like halfway through season 1, they end up on the Twi'lek homeworld, and Hera is a Twi'lek, and her father fought in the resistance against the Separatist forces and teamed up with the clone troopers to liberate their planet. And so she's like a little teenager when basically the clone troopers, now part of the Empire, like, yeah, we're not leaving. Like, we have to stay here and maintain order. And long story short, the Empire, through the clone troopers and one of the military leaders, like, get her father arrested and killed. And like, so literally since she's been a teenager, she's been fighting the Empire and trying to like get rid of them. And so she's been involved in war literally her whole life. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with Hera, right? Because you get a lot to unpack with her character potentially. The other thing from Rebels is that Kanan, that Jedi that escaped, he was a Padawan that escaped Order 66 and trained Sabine. He finally worked through his baggage and admitted his feelings to Hera, and they started actually having a relationship, right? Like through 5 seasons, I think, of like the Rebels. And of course, poor guy, he finished all his character development. And what happens when you finish all your character development?
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye. So he sacrificed himself to save Hera and the rest. Like, big hero moment. But like, to say that has no effect on Hera, like, I feel like that's a missed opportunity. But they also might just be like, we don't want to dig up every single thing from Rebels and try and rehash it, because then we have to catch everyone up at the same time.
Right.
So, at least as far as the three main characters, I feel like there's enough to chew on there with what they're setting up in the trailer.
So in the animated shows, were they all together like this? Because when I see, okay, so I'm trying to think if I even seen the first trailer now. Because when I saw this one, all of it seemed kind of new to me. And then also I was like, man, this seems very like woman driven, but it looked like the allies are women, the bad guys are women. So I was kind of curious, like, is this continuing from the other shows, or is this something that just kind of how it goes where,
So,
like where the hero is a woman in a movie, then the bad guy is a woman too?
so in the Rebels show, I would say the cast was fairly balanced.
Okay.
So in Rebels, the main protagonist is Ezra.
Okay.
And that's the person that disappears with Thrawn at the end of Rebels show, and that's the person, like, Sabine is like, I want to find Ezra. And Ahsoka is like, I want to find Thrawn, because, like, he's going to do some fucked up shit. And there's probably a little bit of like, I also want to find Ezra. And Sabine's like, all right, we can go and find Thrawn, right? But Ezra is like the little teenage protagonist, right? At the start of Rebels. And then he runs into the Phoenix crew. I think it's the Phoenix crew. And that has Sabine, and that has Kanan. I mean, technically he was a Padawan that survived Order 66. You got Hera, that's, the pilot, runs the ship. You got Chopper. And then, oh God, I'm going to forget his name. The purple alien dude that was in the Mandalorian at the Rebel hangar. Yeah.
Right, because he did a great job on him.
But it was a fairly well balanced cast, and Ahsoka didn't come in, I think, until like season 2, season 3 of Rebels, and she came in and out. Okay. So she wasn't like a regular. I'm sure it's one of those things. Again, Dave Filoni was heavily involved in Rebels, and he's like, Rebels came out after Clone Wars, the animated show, ended, or at least season 6, and then Rebels happens. So he's like, hey, I can take Ahsoka, like, character we built up for so many seasons, I can bring her into Rebels. Cool. And then they got season 7 of the Clone Wars greenlit, and they're like, all right, well, now we can really wrap up Ahsoka's thing. All right, so we're actually jumping back in time now and doing stuff. Okay. And then also we've got this new show that comes out after, that's the Bad Batch, and it jumps back in continuity to literally right after Order 66. Ironically, the Kanan character, right, that survived Order 66, you literally get to see him escape Order 66 with these clone troopers. His master gets killed. It's definitely a little bit of like, we're just gonna keep playing in my backyard, and like, here's my figurines, like, and it's fine. Like, this, it's not a critique, but like, it really does. All these characters really do sort of tie together.
Well, I was just saying, like, it seemed like it's just very women-driven cast. I didn't know if it was always like that with the 3 that they showed, like, kind of interacting with each other like that, or if it was just something they were putting together for the show. No, I was just curious. I didn't know if it was similar.
I don't think we're gonna get a girl power moment.
He don't normally do that, but we've seen these shows go left. Not saying that this is going to happen to this one.
I will be really surprised.
It looked like everybody's kind of handling their business. Another thing that stood out to me was Ray Stevens, and with his passing and all that. So that was just kind of crazy to see him.
It's unfortunate. He was a great actor.
Yes, he was. He was a Punisher at one time. War Journal.
Yeah. War Journal.
Really, yeah, it was pretty cool. Very stylized. Yeah, I really liked it. But I thought to me, out of all the people who played Punisher, I thought that he had the look for me and the attitude.
Right.
And then he was also in the Thor movie, and he's been around.
Oh, that's right. That was him.
Yeah.
One of the something 3 or whatever it was. But I think we haven't seen sort of all the characters that are coming to play. There's also, I forget her name, the administrator or something like that. Again, from Mandalorian season 1, season 2. Whenever Ahsoka showed up in Mandalorian, right? And Ahsoka was on the like, we gotta I'm hunting down Thrawn, and she has that big fight with, I can't remember her name. Let's call her the administrator or magistrate. Magistrate. She was the magistrate. And the magistrate seems really interesting. And again, you've got some opportunities there because, like, there was nothing in sort of that Mandalorian episode that's like, she's a Force user,
Hmm.
right? There's
Right.
nothing that's like screaming Jedi or screaming Sith or anything else like that. But just vibe wise, I'm reminded of Donnie Yen in Rogue One,
Okay.
right? The blind
Yeah.
fighter, right? And
Also
he's
played the
kind of
blind fighter in John Wick.
right.
John Wick 4.
Well, and the thing is that character isn't presented as a Jedi. He's almost just like an acolyte of the Force, not necessarily someone who has special training. It's
Right.
not, it's kind of, it's like, is he using the Force to fight just as a sensory thing because he's blind? Like
Right. Right.
it, them exploring other people that interact with the Force, right, in their own way. It's
Yeah.
maybe not as formalized as a Sith or as formalized as a Jedi. That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if they do that with her, cool beans. And she definitely seems to be working with. I can't remember the character's name, but Rey and Shin. Those are the two with the I'm gonna say deep crimson lightsabers. Like they
Okay.
don't have red lightsabers. A lot of people have been like, that's different. They're very red orange or orange
Hmm.
red.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and there's probably going to be some significance to that. Most likely they are. My guess is they're fallen Jedi, or at
Okay.
least Balin or something like that. Rey's character, he is old enough to have been a Jedi and a fallen Jedi, but Shin with the white hair,
Hmm.
she's a youngin. Like she's mid-20s maybe. Like
Huh.
the actress is definitely like mid-20s.
Yeah.
So she wouldn't be old enough to even have been around for Order 66.
Right.
So she's probably someone like Ezra and other characters, which is like, hey, I grew up after that and I'm force sensitive, and he found her and he's been training her.
Okay.
So it'd be interesting to see that. There's a line in there where Shin is clearly fighting Sabine, and Sabine is using Ezra's green lightsaber, and she's like, you have no power? And is that like you have no force powers, or is it
Right.
some other play? And clearly they're after big giant force MacGuffin or something where it's like, whoever gets this will have power. And it's like, all right. Like, it's very interesting that they're really hiding what Thrawn is doing, right?
Yes.
Because they don't really want to give away any hints as to sort of whatever his play is.
Hmm.
Because there's tons of speculation. Like, is it going to be this from the books? Is it going to be this from the other thing? Is it going to be right? It's going to have to be some mishmash or something entirely new. But
Yeah.
it's very interesting just how much the old legacy canon Star Wars, right? All the
Yeah.
extended universe books that came before Disney, and then Disney canon
Hmm.
version of Thrawn is represented differently.
Huh.
The OG Thrawn was a bit more like, yeah, no, like the Emperor is out of the way, like then I need to make sure that the Empire functions like it should, right? And he just comes in and starts stomping ass strategically.
Yeah.
And apparently with the new sort of Disney canon version of Thrawn through the books, there's a lot more of like, yeah, I need an empire in place because there's this other thing.
Okay.
Right? So it sets him up a little bit more of like, I want to say maybe like an anti-hero where he's like, no, I'm going to do all the horrible things to make sure we build up this defensive military system because something else horrible is coming, right?
Okay. Hmm.
So we'll see sort of what if they sort of continue that thread or they do something different. But I mean, Thrawn looks really good. Like
Yeah.
all the special effects look really good. So another interesting thing that's in there is a robot at the end of the second trailer. And I'm gonna try and pronounce it right. Hugh Yun,
Okay.
right? Very odd looking sort of droid.
Yeah.
And that droid is older than Yoda.
What?
Yeah. So,
Huh.
I only found out some of this the other day because I didn't catch the episodes of Rebels that he was in. But straight up, like, this droid helps Padawans that had basically build their lightsaber.
Oh, wow.
So he doesn't necessarily go with them to go and get their kyber crystal that they need to put into the lightsaber, but like he like gives them options and ideas of what materials to use, and then actually guides them in assembling their first lightsaber.
Oh.
And so it's like every Jedi for like last 1,000 years used Hu Yun to build their lightsabers. And apparently there's at some point in one of these things where he's like, oh wow, I haven't experienced something like this since Master Yoda built his first lightsaber. And it's like, wait, hold up.
What?
It was like, oh, the fuck. So they've even referenced him in the High Republic books, which is like 1,000 years ago.
Okay.
So
that's a trip. So he's kind of like the sorting hat of,
in a way. And it, I was thinking about this earlier. So like one of the things is like Ahsoka's lightsabers are white.
Yes.
And they've set up this thing now where to make the kyber crystals red, none of the kyber crystals are red naturally. So the kyber crystals are set up to be these like quasi sentient sort of entities, where they're sort of like sorting hat wise, they're sort of picking the force user that's looking for a kyber crystal. So when they go to places where there's kyber crystals, they sort of call out to the person. Right? But the Sith are not about symbiotic relationships. They are master and slave. Right? So they dominate the kyber crystals with hate and pain and rage and bleed them red. Right?
Wow.
And so the reason why Ahsoka's are white is because she fought an Inquisitor and beat him, and she could actually feel the kyber crystals basically calling out to her. And so she took the kyber crystals from the destroyed lightsaber and she healed them essentially. Right?
Oh.
And so that's why they're white. Now, again, should also be clear, Dave Filoni wanted her to have different colored lightsabers to also signify her leaving and being separate from the Jedi Order.
Okay.
So it's a little bit one of those things of like, I want a cool thing. Can I find a cool way to justify it? Right?
Yeah.
So I appreciate that through this sort of like treating the lightsaber not as just a tool. Right? It's not just like, oh, it's a thing that cuts through things and it's my weapon, right? It like it has a spirit. Right? So it sort of brings Jedi back to sort of samurai, right? And the samurai believing their blade has a soul, right? And they're one with the blade, right? So I think there's sort of thematically that's sort of cool to see that sort of strengthened. And so if you got Hu Yun, then someone's building a lightsaber. Otherwise, why are you bringing them along? Right? So it'll be interesting to see what they sort of do with that. And I think the only other real big question I've seen a lot of people like arguing over is there is 100% an Inquisitor that shows up. Right?
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh yeah. So this guy all in black, he's got like a black mask and armor on, and he's got the classic Inquisitor spinning double lightsaber, right?
Yeah. That was
right. Right. But people are like, which Inquisitor is it? Is it this one? Is it this one? Right? Because they're like the 8th brother, the 12th sister, the blah blah blah, like it's tricky because like people are that totally looks like 8, but then there's other people like he doesn't have the right number of fingers.
Oh wow.
Because he's an alien. And I don't know. I honestly don't know, and I don't care. I will wait for the show to tell me. The one thing I don't want it to be is Ezra. I don't want it to be one of those things where it's like he went off in Thrawn and then he got turned to the dark side and became an Inquisitor. And I'm like, let's not do that again.
So
Let's not do that again. Just have it be some other person that's an Inquisitor. There we go.
okay, so going back to Ray Stevenson character Balin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he's in there and he's saying like the guy goes up to him and he's like, well, I guess he was like said something to him about being a Jedi, and he said, I'm no Jedi. What is he and what are they? Because it wasn't just him there.
Yeah, no, Shin's with him. So that looks like they land on a New Republic ship. And someone's like, "Oh, you guys look like Jedi. Wow, we should totally let our defenses down."
After you put a
And
hole through the guy, then he
yeah,
tells him I'm not a
yeah,
Jedi.
I'm no Jedi. And I read that as I used to be a Jedi, and being a Jedi failed me, right? It's someone's worldview got destroyed, and so fuck that worldview, right? And that can explain. I don't necessarily think he's a Sith.
That's what I was gonna say. So do they play the middle, or are they just on the? So what line are they on?
So I think they're definitely dark side users, but I just don't think they're Sith.
Okay.
So they've got their own agenda.
Are you familiar with the characters?
They are new characters.
Oh, okay.
It's just one of those things of like, there's quite a few cases of people, Jedi, that were like after Order 66, they survived somehow. Takes a while to kill them all, right? But like fighting in the wars, Order 66, trying to survive on their own, like it's really traumatizing and traumatic and hard, and people break down. And so they might still think that they're Jedi and they're living up to the code, but it's like, yo, you just fucking murdered a bunch of people. Like you're losing control, right?
Yeah.
You're slipping into the dark side, and you don't. And it might be one of those things where it's like you don't realize it yet.
Right.
And for Balin, it might be like, yeah, fuck it.
Yeah.
Doing the goody two shoe stuff didn't fucking work, right?
Yeah, because it's funny because it almost lends to a conversation we had off camera. This whole thing is almost like a religion, and so you can feel a certain kind of way or slighted by it, and that could get you on this tangent, or somebody read the scripture a certain kind of way, so they take it literally and you take it as a metaphor, and that's all same stories, but it makes you have a different action because of how your interpretation is.
Yeah.
And so I could, okay, that makes sense.
That my read on it is he's a fallen Jedi, and he's pissed that the Order failed. The Order wasn't able to protect the Republic. The Order wasn't able to see what was coming, and so fuck that. I'm not going to hold myself back anymore. Clearly, using the dark side, like, wins out and is more powerful, and I'm going to get more power. And it's like, yo, buddy, you just keep on sliding down that hill into the dark side. Like, right? It's you can see from Anakin's fall a similar progression. So I will be pleasantly surprised if they come up with a different way of sort of explaining his backstory and what he's about and what they're trying to do. That's, compelling. But if that's it, I'll also be like, yeah, no, I fucking get it.
Yeah, that's cool. Like, they're gonna have a lot of familiar faces and names that's tied into this show. So we're gonna get a couple surprise. Well, I guess it ain't gonna be a surprise because IMDb always have everything on there. But
yeah,
it seems like it's gonna be tied in well with the other shows in a way, in some kind of shape or form, or reoccurring faces and names.
Well, I don't know if we talked about it when we finished up Mandalorian 3, but they're talking now about how they are, through the shows, driving to sort of wrap up this era of Star Wars, sort of in between Return of the Jedi and the sequel trilogies. This in-between time with The Mandalorian and other things, Book of Boba Fett, I would say Obi-Wan. No, Obi-Wan's before. But all these sort of shows in this era are driving towards a movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so it's like, so presumably, unless, someone else dies or something else like that, I mean, actors, like Din's gonna be like involved. Probably Bo-Katan will be involved. Like Ahsoka will probably be involved. It's like they are heading towards a thing, right? And it's going to be it's going to be the Avengers movie, right? But they do all the build up the setup in the shows, I saw the graphic for like a video and I didn't watch it, but it was just like it's all just ads now. And it was like showing like different media, like the Marvel movies and like Star Wars and other things like that. And it's one of those things where like every show, every movie is like partially an ad for the next show or movie.
Right.
Right. And for you and I, coming from like reading comic books, like, yeah, that's how comic books work. There's always like a stinger at the end of like, oh, but who's in the shadows, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's like I can't really complain about it, but it's a question of, for whatever the show, the movie, the story they're telling, do they tell a full, complete story that's not like hampered by, oh, and we got to have this tease, right? If it's just a little tease at the end, okay, cool, right? But it's not like we're telling this kind of or sort of bumpy story, but really we're setting up this other thing.
Like we've seen with Marvel recently, where the namesake of the movie is a visitor in their own movie.
Yeah.
Guess what the movie's about, not the namesake of the movie.
I don't know. Right. So I don't think we're necessarily going to get that here.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a fairly solid sort of show. I think it's very interesting to watch how they've portrayed Ahsoka in live action, and it's really not, I would say, out of alignment with where she really sort of leaves off in animation.
Okay.
Like she goes some horrible shit in season 7. Very briefly, she's with a whole platoon of troopers, like going to Mandalore, right? Like the Jedis are like, you can come back for this special mission because we need someone to deal with Maul. And I'm like, okay. And all the troopers are like, we're glad to have you back. Hey, we changed all our war paint on our helmets to match the symbols that you have, like her symbols on her head. So they're like, we're your troopers. And then Order 66 happens.
Oh.
And they all turn on her, and all but one, like I forget which.
That's powerful.
Yeah, it's rough. Like she has to bury a bunch of her troops at the end of it because she has to fight her way out, and it's brutal. So like the live action Ahsoka like has really sort of mastered that we're gonna be fucking chill at all times. And I think Rosario Dawson does like a really good job of, she doesn't play like I'm an emotionless drone just going through the paces. It's like there's a performance there. There's still things happening under the surface. It's just, I saw an interesting discussion on Reddit the other day because, oh God, Star Wars nerds. But they were talking about like, oh man, the Jedis have to be in control of their emotions. And someone was like, no. They just, control's the wrong thing. Control's the idea of like you just like turn off your emotions. And it's like,
you got to stay on the good side of it. That's all. It's like a balancing thing, like a bike.
Yeah,
like you just don't lean too far on either side and keep a balance. And
you still have the emotions. You acknowledge the emotions.
Right.
I think one of so again, my dad did years of meditation and stuff like that. And one of the interesting things is sort of like trying to articulate to someone how you get to a point of being aware of your thoughts and not just like, oh, I'm angry, but like, all right, once you recognize a thought, right? Because your brain's going to throw up all sorts of stuff, like unedited. And so like, how do you then actually like do a thing? And like one of my dad's best pieces of advice is like, when you recognize a thought or a feeling, and usually it's a thought and a feeling, is you have to come in the habit, and it just takes practice. There's no other way. You have to be, a thought comes up, and then you decide if you're going to latch onto the thought and go with it, right?
Yeah.
Because one of the problems is for some people, and I just acknowledge people that have like mental health issues or neurodivergent, where this becomes extra difficult. That's a whole separate thing. But if a thought comes up, having a big strong reaction against it is also not good, because then you're still
Yeah.
fighting that thought. And so it gets to the point where a thought can come up and you go, yep, I just had that thought. And then you just let it go, right? You do nothing more than track the thought, let it go. I'm like, right? I do this all the time of just like, oh, that's a thought. And it's like, I don't trust that thought. You go away, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to lean into it, right? I don't always do it successfully,
Yeah.
but I feel like that's what Jedi are trying to do all the time,
Yeah.
right? Because they, more than most, if they feed into those thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
it gets amplified by the Force. And then the dark side goes, hey, buddy.
Yeah. That's well put. I always think of it like being an artist's mind. How you just, when you're a creative person, you creative with everything, and you give everything almost, viable credit because you kind of know how imagination runs. That's how you make stuff into reality. You catch on to a thought and you finish that ride.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. An
so
artist wants to hold
exactly. So
on.
you're used to doing that, but you gotta kind of know to be careful because it works with everything, and all of it's not gonna be a pretty picture. So some of that stuff you gotta just let it.
Yeah.
You gotta let it go, but it's hard.
I would think, artist or otherwise, being able to train yourself in holding on to, letting go, following, but trying to get it to be a choice, which
and not getting ran over by your own bus.
Yeah. Oh man.
Not getting ran over by your own train.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Man, I had a day the other day where I just got like run over by like 20 things getting piled up at once, and I got fucking angry, and I couldn't let it go, and I just had to I need to go listen or watch something and just change the channel in my head.
Right.
Sometimes it just gets to that point. So yeah, people do focus on that mental health stuff.
For sure.
Otherwise you're gonna be swinging around a red lightsaber.
But I bring it back.
Yeah. But back to Ahsoka, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see Ahsoka because you can read again what they're sort of setting up with her and Sabine of they had they're two very stubborn people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of finding a way to break through to each other, right? Finding a way to, right? The difficult thing I think with teachers sometimes is you have to acknowledge the student where they are, right? And you have to find a way of you gotta thumbs up all the things they're doing that are really working well, and then also not chew them out super hard when they fuck up. Depends on the fuck up, right? But it'll be interesting of what was it that made Ahsoka walk away from Sabine, right? It's easy to think of well, she's worried she's gonna train the person wrong, right? And that's either gonna be harmful to Sabine or it's gonna be harmful to other people, right? So that's one thing. Who knows? Might be other sort of stuff, but I think seeing Ahsoka maybe let down her guard a little bit, I think could be some really sort of compelling drama. I'm super kind of jazzed for this.
Me too. I was impressed by the trailer. One thing I'm wondering, and as we wrap this up, what do you think as far as the tone and everything? What do you think are we getting? Is this going to be definitely? I don't think it's going to be a Boba Fett. I don't think
it's not going to be a Boba Fett.
It's not going to be a
Obi-Wan.
Even though Obi-Wan wasn't disappointing, but maybe it was because I expected more just because of the history.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I wouldn't thought it was really cheesy at first, but compared to other stuff, I think Mandalorian is a little cheesy.
It is, and it's a little bit more space cowboy, right? It leans it leans definitely way more into the Western, Star Wars.
And only because I feel that's only because of Andor.
Yeah.
So that kind of pulled
the contrast.
The contrast made it kind of stand out. Okay, so to me, I don't think it's going to be as light as Mandalorian, and I don't think it's going to be as heavy as Andor. So I think this might be the nice comfortable middle. because you've seen the good fight scenes and stuff from the trailer. You see the drama. You can kind of see the weight in it a little bit too. I don't know. So, what do you think it's
I
going to lean closer towards?
I gotta wonder if referencing sort of the katana,
Hmm.
sort of lightsaber aspect, I can almost see them sort of leaning back into sort of the samurai, right? Because like Star Wars is basically a samurai western, right?
Right.
A
Right.
samurai western World War II movie,
Hmm.
right? And I really felt like for the Ahsoka episodes of Mandalorian where she first shows up and the magistrate is there, that
Right.
felt like a samurai flick,
Yeah, it did. Yeah,
right?
it did.
Vibe wise, there's the small
Hmm.
village, there's the Lord.
Hmm.
She's got to deal with the Lord. Like it's very much sort of like samurai vibes.
Yeah.
So and you've got her and Sabine, and I feel like there's a little bit of like, yeah, you're training to be a Jedi slash samurai. I can see that going there.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting, sort of what I feel like with all the stuff with Ahsoka,
Hmm.
Sabine, the Magistrate, Balin, and Shin, samurai, samurai through and through. I think that will be the vibe. The question becomes for Thrawn and Ezra and for Hera. Like what genre are they going to be in? I
Yeah.
don't think it's necessarily going to be incongruous, but like it'll be sort of the question of like what is Thrawn doing?
Okay.
Because I don't think with this cast we're gonna get a big war movie.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Right? And Thrawn's the big strategist, so he's making some other play, right?
Yeah.
So it becomes, is this an intrigue thing? Is it a mysticism thing? What is his thing that he's doing is going to set the theme for him, right? What genre is he in, right?
Yeah.
Because I think for a character that's portrayed as being excruciatingly smart,
Hmm.
you can drive that intelligence to different ends and goals, and then that sort of sets what sort of genre and theme it's about, right? By whatever strategic thing he's trying to do, that makes that a samurai thing, or it makes it a western, or it makes it a war movie, or it makes it
Yeah.
a political intrigue or whatever. So it'll be
Right.
interesting to see.
I,
um,
I have a sneaky suspicion he might not be in it that much. And it seems like a decent amount of actions going on. But I guess he would be more like a chess master who would
he's
be on the.
absolutely a chess
So
master.
he'll be the one on the outside, really not really getting his hands dirty, but making sure all the pieces are in the right place. So it's gonna be interesting. I think it's gonna be heavier than Mandalorian, but not as heavy as Andor. Like I
Yeah,
said, it might be in a sweet middle about it, but special effects look good from what I saw. The acting looks good.
it'll also be interesting to see how many other so Thrawn is a Chiss, that's his alien species.
Okay.
It'll be interesting to see if there's more of them involved,
Oh, okay.
if it's just him. Like there's the whole sort of like Chiss ascendancy, the Empire,
Hmm.
that's like hidden in another part of the galaxy.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's in the current continuity or not, but yeah, he's never the combatant,
Yeah.
right? He's always got other warriors at his side,
Yeah.
right, doing the actual work. So
Yeah.
I don't see him having a fight with Ahsoka, right? If it gets to that, something's gone horribly wrong for
Right.
him.
Right. Right. That's true. That's true. One thing I will say too that stood out to me was Rosario is that she actually feels and look like the character from the clips I seen.
Mm-hmm.
Because I will say when I seen her in the other show, I won't say she was cosplay-y, but I don't feel because even with her moves and stuff, like they're not as tight as you know what I mean. Like I think it was more or less
I'd agree.
glad to see her,
Mm-hmm.
but it was kind of like, but with this and this, just from these little short clips, it's like, oh, she's the character now. That's what she just needed time. She just
Yeah.
needed to regroup, shake off the.
I feel like from her first appearance in
And I'm
Mandalorian
not trying to be
to
insulting
what's
either. I'm not
yeah,
trying to be
no, no,
messy or nothing, but
no, no.
you know,
I feel like as she showed up again in Book of Boba Fett, which was
yeah,
the Mandalorian episode,
right,
and
right,
and at least what we've seen in these clips, I feel like she settles and feels more grounded in the
yes,
character, and I'm hoping they've given her more time to practice all the combat and stuff like that, because
yeah,
like legit, like that's not a natural thing.
No.
To do that, and practicing it like makes a very big difference, even if you have stunt doubles. Like,
Right.
I haven't seen anything from the trailer that made me go, as far
Right.
as any of
Right.
the combat stuff.
Hmm.
And like, there's like one pose she did, and I was like, oh, that looks awkward. And I'm like, shut up. It's like, who cares? Who cares? It's not.
Everybody.
God.
This would be a situation where everybody would care. This wouldn't just be in your own head canon. This would be everybody seeing the same thing, probably thinking the same thing too. But like I said, not that I had any doubts about her, because she's just a sweetheart anyway, and she's a good actress, and she's very dedicated, and she loves all this stuff. So at least you have somebody in there who loves it, and you know that if she wasn't on point by the time it was showtime, she'd be ready. And like I said, I could see it in this. But the last time I saw her, as I'll forgive it, because I would want her anyway. I'm glad that she's getting this opportunity. I think she's going to bring a lot to it if she has the time and the writing and the direction. Hey, you got somebody in there who really digs it. It's almost like having, a person like Mark Hamill that he appreciates and loves it just as much as everybody else. And it feels special when you have somebody who's already down with the team and getting a chance to have their turn at bat. I think that's really dope. It's special. It's special.
And I think she really is, I think, still somewhat underrated as an actress. Like,
I think so too.
She's got really good acting chops.
Right.
So yeah, I'm patient, but I'm excited.
Right on. Right.
It's gonna be fucking around the corner any minute now. God.
It's always that, and
I think it's in August, so I'll be sweating. Sweating so bad. Jesus.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's gonna be here before we know it. But when I saw that trailer, I thought of you, of course, and it gives a reason to catch up too. So it's been good. But I knew you had some insight, and I know you'd be excited about it, and so am I. Like I said, these shows, just as much as the shows I enjoy watching on various levels, I definitely enjoy our conversations and our thoughts and back and forth about these shows. So
I'm hoping it's a bit more like our Andor discussions, where it's just like, this was nice, this was well done, look how well this was done, this was great.
We was digging in.
Because like, so long as it's like, this bit works because X, Y, and Z, they're setting up this blah blah blah, or it's, wow, this didn't work because X, Y, and Z, they like failed to pay this off. Like, that's the kind of discussions I wish I would see more of, where it's like really people breaking it down, instead of just like, this is the best thing ever, this is the worst thing ever, ruined my childhood. Like, oh, shut up.
No, we were going in, and for those who's listening, if you haven't checked it out, or you have checked out those episodes, go back. I even revisit them sometimes, and I'll just be like, we were going in. Like this, these some serious discussions. Like, we had notes and going back and forth, and this, and oh yeah. It was almost like some of the stuff. I'm like, man, we were really talking over each other, but we were just so excited.
Right?
We were chomping at the bit. That's how good it was. It's just like, yeah. I love it when a show is like that. It was worthy to make you really just want to discuss and see how the other person, how they digested it as well. It's a nice thing, and yeah, looking forward to it. Fingers crossed, but I think we got a good one with this one.
That is the hope.
All right. Any parting words for us?
Oh, geez. I would say, just mind your mental health. Be nice to each other. Don't follow the dark side.
That's right.
Keep it real. Fight fascists. Punch the Nazis in the face. Oh, I have to go help unload a baby from a car. So,
all right.
Jay, love you. I will catch you later, bud.
All right. Till next time. Peace. Hey, it's Jay. If you enjoyed my conversation with Ryan, please check out our episodes where we talked about the Book of Boba Fett, Spider-Man No Way Home, and the movie Batman. Thanks for listening, and until next time, peace.